crank up back to back. Oh, oh, just like that. I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. And watch me get this gold. I just want it all. I just want it all. If you knock me down, I'll go for the fall. I just got that gold.
Unstoppable, we never stop, we feel higher. Look at us, why we the best. Far better than all of the rest. Unstoppable, we moving up, we on fire. Never give up, never give in. Stronger we tough, thinking this again. This is our game, so let it begin. This is our team, get ready to win. Ready to run, we're ready to play. Ready to tumble, we ain't afraid. Enemies high, enemies pray. Look at the squad, I just wanna wait.
Fortnite fam, day 2 of the grand finals. 6 games today. Players have had the night before to study, to make adjustments, to rethink their plans, and come in stronger than ever, because 6 spots are going to the global championship, and all to play for. Oh, that's right, there's also prize money and an Axe of Champions. I hope you're ready. It's FNCS time. The only people more excited about the grand finals is Kelly Link and Vivid. Friends, day number 2, 6 games, Axe of Champions, 6 spots, prize money. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm sure not as nervous as our players, but my goodness, was day 1 such an exciting day for Fortnite. Not just for you, but of course, NA. It was absolutely incredible in the way that things ended off with Peterbot and Pollo on top. My goodness, Vivid. But we've already got 6 teams from North America made their way to the Global Championships, and we're going to find 6 more today.
I mean, listen, we have constantly talked about it. Every single time you guys have seen our faces up here, it feels like this Fortnite season is just flying by. I mean, Major 2 has been no different. We are already on day number 2 of Grand Finals, just a couple of hours away from not only crowning champions, but for securing those Global Championships qualification spots. A lot to play for and just 6 games left to do it.
Oh man, let's go ahead and start off easy here. Let's bring up that leaderboard. Let's remind ourselves kind of how things ended. To start, I'd like to go ahead and say, hey, that's right, NA, we got top 5 in NA. No EU in the top 5 currently. I'm looking at you, Veno. I'm looking at you, Moneymaker and Fanyan. But speaking of both of these EU duos, you know, we kind of seen some crazy situations out of Moneymaker and Fanyan, specifically looking to possibly contest some other duos. Vivid, you maybe want to talk us through some of that action?
Yeah, so Moneymaker and Fanyan, I mean, obviously you can see they're doing well on the leaderboard, but they came into it yesterday in game number 1, kind of expected to land at this island split to the east of Sunken, and they were uncontested game 1, and out of that, they got 3rd place with 4 eliminations. But for whatever reason, they just weren't happy with that. As you can see, just to the north end, by the way, Sicrims and Jocelyn Amazar kind of had this contest going on. But Moneymaker and Fanyan, like I said, they weren't happy with it. So in the next like 5 games, they moved. A bulk of those games, they went to the 0-point center of the map split where they ended up being contested. And then one of the other games, they went up to Chopped Shop up there in the northwest side of the map. So they pretty much left their uncontested split to the south side and opted to be contested. It's kind of working out for them because they're still doing well on the leaderboard, but it's also working out well for Jocelyn Amzo and Sicrims because now both of those duos have kind of ended up with uncontested drop spots. So I want us to keep a close eye on how this actually pans out through the day and if we can kind of expect this to kind of remain how it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because they definitely started off strong, but the last 2 games were definitely a little rough for them. So it'll be interesting to see if they do change up their strategy. But for a team that also had some success yesterday, you already alluded to it a little bit, Zeke, but I'm going to let Vivid take it away because Veno and Agers had quite a day yesterday.
I mean, listen, we're kind of talking about off-spawn situations. I expected Veno and Agers to come into this weekend with a little something up their sleeve. I did not expect them to go latte at all because they were going to be triple contested over here. But this triple contest, it happened all 6 games. There was no secrets being kept from Veno and Agers outside of the fact that they are just darn good, because I feel like anybody that watched those 6 games yesterday would probably agree with me in saying that Veno and Agers, I feel like, won that all-spawn fight, whether they were fighting or not. But the tough part about it is that when you're triple contested, you kind of leave the POI sometimes with not so great loot. I mean, their weapons and their utility is pretty good, but their mats were always just so low. So they were actually forced into a situation where they had to just take mid-game fight after mid-game fight after mid-game fight. That being said, I mean, it just worked out so well for them. We know they were our elimination leaders after just those 6 games, and the numbers do the talking for themselves. Because as you can see, this is a breakdown of all of our teams, or at least towards the top. of how many eliminations they were able to pick up between zones 0 and 7. So a bulk of Aegis and Veno, bulk of their action was just coming from those early to mid-game fights, 22 total eliminations from them.
And we've seen in the past, especially when Veno first came over to North America and teamed up with Clix, that he does really favor these early and mid-game fights. But I feel like between Clix and even Curve, that he hasn't really found a duo mate that would be able to kind of follow along with him and keep up the pace of Veno, who is so fast, so aggressive. But I don't think that's the case with Aegis. Aegis is the perfect teammate for Veno. Being able to just stay with him and keep that aggression going is definitely a key to the success that we saw from them yesterday.
I'm curious. I'm curious to see. Did we change something? Are we going to keep the triple contested situation? For now, though, as we continue to talk about day number 2, why don't we go say what's up to your casters, MDF and Jacob?
Honestly, you're talking about day 2, Zeke, and honestly, one thing that always sticks in my head, if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're doomed to repeat them. And for Queasy, Victor V, Okus, and Zana, they may have had some mistakes, but they also had moments where they shine like no other, getting victory royales on the day yesterday.
Yeah, it's a story that is so different from one to the other. Queasy and Victor V have very high expectations set on their shoulders. You saw their preparation has got them sort of out of the early game, but it's that mid game, the lurks that you saw in the dynamic troubles in their area. So I'm curious to see how they're gonna adapt. And then Jacob, we have this team, right? Nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Yeah, and honestly, both of these teams really have shown, because they have shared at one point or another a spot inside of global championship qualifying territory. They fell down a little bit, 14th and 15th place on the respective leaderboard, but it goes to show that one game can truly mean the difference, Zeke.
It can, Jacob. That's why you have to fight it out until the final game of Fortnite. Fortnite's going to do what Fortnite's going to do. But why don't we go ahead and bring up, once again, the leaderboard, right? So we got the talk of EU out the way. Let's look at our top 5 and see who could possibly race to number 1. We'll start at the bottom, Higgs and Curve. I mean, look, we started very strong yesterday, right? A victory royale, 12 eliminations, and we had some consistency and maybe a few one-off games that didn't quite go their way. But Kelly, coming into today, I'm kind of curious what they might have adapted and, how they might have changed their plans to tackle these upcoming 6 games.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like the first half went better in their favor, unlike the second half of the day. But I will say in game number 1, the game that they won, that they kind of forego these early rotations that I saw a lot of other teams kind of prioritizing. And instead they stayed in Storm. They kind of left Lifty Lodge and then even ended up going back to it. And it wasn't until zone 5 or 6 that they actually ended up going back into zone. And they kind of waited a little bit until zone 11 to steal high ground. And then just honestly, it was a clean, easy win and a bunch of eliminations. Getting that VR and the 12 elims has allowed them to kind of hold themselves up in this 5th place spot.
Higgs and Kerr, man, they opened strong yesterday. Games 1 through 3, they were towards the top of the leaderboard. I mean, yeah, they're still in top 5, but struggling with that consistency a little bit. But a team that has not been struggling to be consistent. Acorn and Bulge just a spot above them on the leaderboard in 4th place here. And I'm not going to lie, how everything kind of happened yesterday, I, as it currently stands, kind of favor Acorn and Bulge to kind of take this home. I feel like they're going to win this FNCS, and it's just on the back foot of how consistently that they have played. Their average placement right now over the first 6 games was 7.0. There is not another team in the lobby with a better average placement than 10, and these guys are on 7. So the consistency is there for Acorn and Bolts. I mean, we constantly talk about it. Acorn, best IGL in the world, paired up with Bolts, so mechanical. That being said, Callie, I know we were kind of talking about it yesterday. The solo clutch points are also kind of keeping these guys alive.
Yeah, it's wild to see that they have a 7th place average place, but they haven't placed above 5th. And I think a lot of that is due to what you just indicated, that they are consistently a solo when it comes to the final moments of the game. And you can see that here in the solo clutch points. And obviously, we kind of built up Acorn's solo play in the heats, but that is a one and done. You win and you move on. Here, we need both of them to stay alive a few moments. There was even a few moments in the game in the day yesterday where we thought they were separated. They weren't even in the same box together. So I don't know necessarily if it's just a little bit of a hitch in their synchronicity or if there's something else going on, but we know that this duo has been together for quite a long time now, and I know that they have that synergy. So maybe just a moment to kind of look back on maybe where they're taking a few missteps and to recover. But again, I'm saying recover. They're in 4th place, but I would love to see them get into a top 3.
Absolutely right. I think we all want to see that. We got to keep the ball rolling, though, the conversation going. We got to talk about Muzz and Rise. No big deal. Only a few points behind Peterbot and Pollo. Very strong showing from the duo yesterday. Even a victory royale. I guess I posed the same question. Now that we've had the evening to kind of Vatari to look over our gameplay, do we feel like they may have made some changes? Do we even feel like they need to? I mean, with such a strong showing, maybe they just stay the course?
Listen, they got a first, a second, and a third yesterday. I don't know necessarily if they're going to have to make any changes. And I got to rewatch some of their games this morning. And honestly, right off the bat, they have so much success. Muzz lands on this crazy high plateau where there's a few chests, and he's able to grab some easy tags on some players, especially depending on how the bus path goes. He lands so much earlier than anyone else. And then they get the mythic AR from the boss that's nearby. And then they go into this mid-map. They're relatively in the middle of the map. So they have these early rotations, and then they can get the surge tower that's in the middle of the map, and it's on top of that plateau that Muzz already landed on. So they have so much vision around the map. They have so much in the early and mid game that sets themselves up for success, that they don't really need these crazy big pop-off games in the end because they've just done so well in the early and mid.
Well, listen, 34 points separates first and fifth place. 6 points separates first and third, and just a single point separates Peterbot and Pollo and Ritual and Cold. I mean, listen, Ritual and Cold, no surprise here. And we kind of talked about it towards the end of yesterday. If you kind of follow socials, Kinj always posts out his stats from the days, and Cold was all over it, man. He was the player with the most damage dealt. He had the best individual damage ratio. That being said, it wasn't actually the individual prowess that was so impressive for me yesterday. It was actually their average placement if you go ahead and disclude game number 4, because unfortunately they got 46th place, 0 eliminations. They went down just 5 minutes into the game. If you go ahead and actually disclude that game and kind of take their average placement without that one, it's a 4.2. If these guys survive the early game and just make it to the end game, how do you have an average placement of 4.2 there? It is absolutely incredible. They're playing so consistent right now, and I'm not entirely sure what happened in that game number 4, but they can kind of prevent that from happening and have 6 games today where they're constantly in the end game. I mean, listen, only 1 point behind, these guys could win.
And on top of the consistency, they're also able to grab just a ton of eliminations every time they make it to the end game. And when I was rewatching some of their games, I thought, maybe they're doing these crazy aggro plays like what Veno and Agers do. They just run in the mid game, jump in people's boxes and eliminate them. But no, they kind of wait until the end game, and they'll kind of early rotate, box themselves up, and then just create a little window. And they're so in sync and in tune, and they're both so good that they're able to get an elimination onto players rotating in front of them in like a split second. And they don't even they are so efficient in their eliminations that they don't need to go for the loot. There was a game yesterday where they got 3 eliminations back to back to back and didn't go for any of their mats, any of their ammo, anything, because they barely wasted any of it. Cold and Ritual are just so efficient in the end game that they don't really need to use anything.
Crazy stuff. Well, you guys did it. You said a duo's name, it activated my neurons, and now we must talk about them. Peterbot Pollo. Kelly, of course, it would be this way, right? We go in, we're like, Peterbot Pollo. We even talked about it at the top of the show yesterday. Sometimes they have these big explosive games, and sometimes they're not doing that hot. Of course, they win game 6. They come in today as that number 1 team. Of course, it's only a point, but that's still not, that's a pretty scary place to be.
I'm a broken record at this point. I always say how they are, historically a day 2 team, and that is still even the case for now. That was the case if you look at Summit Land and you split the games in half. They just do better in the second half of a tournament, and they're already in first place. And I have to think a part of that is due to this kind of early rotates they would do in the end game, even around Zone 7 or Zone 8. They would build these little towers and just kind of observe where everyone else is going. They would even rotate into Storm to build up a tower to kind of block everyone else off if there was this natural height. They do such a good job preparing for the end game that they're able to control height much earlier than any other team is able to do.
You can see their time on height yesterday. Over the course of the 6 games, it was almost 9 minutes total. But that being said, I feel like we have to mention Peterbot and Pollo, it was very, very slow for them in games 1 through 3. And matter of fact, most of this time, 7 minutes and 20 seconds of it out of the total of almost 9 minutes there actually just came on the back foot of games 4, 5, and 6. So a majority of that was just in the later half of the day yesterday. In fact, kind of going into game number 4 yesterday, they were on 160 points, and now they're on 333, which means that in just those last 2 games, they got more than half of their points than they are currently sitting on right now. So the momentum is on Peterbot and Pollo's side right now. Can they kind of bring it into day number 2 and keep the ball rolling?
Oh man, it is going to be an awesome day of Fortnite, right? 6 games. After that, we've got 6 spots going to the Global Championship. We're fighting for prize money. We're fighting for the Axe of Champions. It is going to be another movie. It's almost that time. Everyone find your seats on the battle bus. Casters, over to you.
Thank you, Zeke. And yeah, as a community, Jacob, we're lucky we get to come into day 2 with 4 teams neck and neck, and then so many others in the race right now. What do you think is going to happen here?
Now, first off, lucky is an understatement. We got a front row seat. I think the last time we had a tournament this close, it ended just as close. I hope it's one placement. I hope it's one elim. I hope first and second place are battling it out come game 12, and the winner of that game wins it all.
Yeah, definitely. You know, NA has given us quite the spectacular show year after year, season after season. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. As we're gearing up here, though, we get to jump in for game number 7.
This is a big day for everybody involved. We crown a Major 2 champion. If it's not for the prize money, maybe the Axe of Champions or the bragging rights to be the best in the world. We also have 6 global championship spots up for grabs. Some teams already have them secured, so we could have a roll down situation. And Monster, with these 6 games, one last day to really put your name on the map and keep your journey going, because you don't want to have to go through that last chance global qualifier.
Yeah, definitely. Things get much more difficult later on in the weeks, but take a look at this. Veno, Agers, Chance, and Madden sticking to their drops as we sort of expected them to be contested, not to fully have the drop to themselves. However, it's quite the nice surprise, I'm sure, even for them to only have a single team here directly contesting them.
Yeah, they're not the only ones changing things up on this side of the map. I saw on the feed Aoxy Jojo Fishy taking down Void and Magma. That's another team that's just towards their west, as Tolzair and Ishu. This is a fight yesterday. We saw them kind of go back and forth, each team winning their respective off spawns, maybe even potentially trying to stay alive as a solo. And sometimes all you need is that one day difference, a time to kind of recollect, figure out what went wrong and fix it, but also figure out what went right and how to replicate it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, this is their get back. They lost, I want to say, about 4 out of the 6 drops yesterday, maybe even 5, honestly. I know the first game went their way, but besides that, it was a pretty tough showing. F9, Moneymaker, keeping things interesting for us here as they continue to sort of float around the drop. Today, they're pulling out a whole new bag of tricks. They have a completely new team and a new POI inside.
Yeah, I feel like they realize sometimes on this region, it is those eliminations that make the difference and start that momentum building, get confidence through the roof. So for Moneymaker and F9, it seems like they're pinpointing contested fights off the drop. And I'm not sure if they kind of plan for where they're actually hiding, but teams usually do go down the monster. They usually do farm up the metal here, the brick down below. You almost get maximum material down there. So the chances are high that teams are going to rotate in that direction. Obviously, the porta potty's there to get even more loot towards the backside of the map.
That's right. And Sharkman and Yuz are, of course, a team with some fair amount of points earned from yesterday, their overall performance ending them in 23rd. So very much in the race right now for a consistency position. Meanwhile, Kick and Avari have the high ground here. They're looking down, also trying to see if they can find an opportunity. Everyone is oh so patient down here. So Moneymaker and F9 might have did their homework, but were they spotted potentially landing down? Hence everyone's cautiousness at the moment. How much time can you wait here, though, right? Even with max shield, you don't really have a lot of builds. So the clock is ticking here.
Uh-oh. Like I said, they're going for that brick, the porta potty, Moneymaker and F9. You're asking how long they can be patient for. Just a couple of seconds longer. They do have a team crossing their path, but they're just trying to go ahead and loot that boat. But you also have Quick and Avari still up above eyeing this altercation. So the initial plan for Moneymaker and F9 is let the fight break out. Listen to the noise, look at the feed, count the knocks, and then strike. And now they might be the ones trying to push what little advantage they might have.
so interesting as they get closer, and I'm curious if they realize there's a team above them. They have to know, because Sharkman and Yuz are building for good reason. Now Vari and Quick are obviously not going to over peak, so although F9 and Moneymaker are exposed here, they're not actually in danger just yet from the high ground team. In the end, it does seem like they ultimately decide to leave.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. They know two teams are here. When you see one disengaging out and you don't know where the other one is, a little bit too risky. As it does look like Paper and Zen are looking to go ahead and contest the Battlewoods against Ritual and Cold. This could be a blessing for Ritual and Cold. They get that first knock onto Zen, which is going to help them for Surge. I'm not sure how much, though. You can see 53 shield left on the Ritual. You got to imagine he took some sort of a shot. But while Paper and Zen contest Ritual and Cold, you can see Aviv and Veer at least trying to get a little bit of damage. It might be 20, it might be 30, but at least it's something to start the journey for Aviv and Veer.
Yeah, a couple tags there to put them ahead. Cold Ritual play a lot more defensively now as they tuck themselves inside the base, just in case that team comes down. Not to be, of course, pinched here. Goes the Shockwave to give them that extra stamina. Now it's time to go ahead and make the push here. Breaking that wall right there allows them to see straight through it, and the elimination was quick and easy for them. They had to secure their first set of points and some damage to go with it.
Man, basically 2 eliminations. Even though Ritual did get tagged up, it's still overall a net positive, especially since they haven't even left their POI yet. There's a lot of time for them to continue on with their game plan, just like Josh and Yamzo. They only get that little building just outside of Sanctuary, so they have to be quick to loot up elsewhere. And that's why we're seeing in majority of the games, even yesterday, they're so quick to get out of that actual drop and rotate towards the center of the map. This time around, it does look like they're venturing on over towards Sinister Strip, and you're already seeing how crowded it actually is. Oliver OG being the primary ones to try to put down pressure.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Tons of teams situated in the vicinity. You have Okus and Zonda. Peterbot and Boyo has a surge base there as well. So this is quite the dangerous rotate. Everyone's going to base down, but for a second, we get to jump in with Mirops, QK, Aminish, and Javi here. Shots and exchanges happening between the two teams in the fight. Then, of course, you have this team based up outside of this engagement here. They're popping tags in as well.
Literally 4 teams. Contrap, Darzy, 20, Chimp towards the outside, Marab's QK here, Javi and Aminish. And typically throughout the day yesterday, it was Clicks and Rapid trying to put pressure on a Maraps and QK in this exact same location, maybe a little bit more towards the east on that coastline, but it's interesting to see them not even kind of move over in this direction. So Clicks and Rapid also having a change of game plan here, at least early on in game 1, as we return back to familiar territory on the whole southern western part of the map. F9 and Moneymaker, you can see they kind of overstayed their welcome in the zone. My only question here, Monster, is probably the same one we had early on. Does anybody even know they're lurking around?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. You know, honestly, early on, I felt like there might have been some early indication, maybe some visual pickup. Hey, there's another team. There's extra gliders here. What are we going to do about it? Hence why everyone's taken their sweet, sweet time. But clearly, Quick and Avari had to have gotten into the mix here as they came down for the Mending Machine. So the fight with Yuz and Sharkman is already breaking out. Even looking at the map, F9 and Moneymaker doubling back, right? They're not exactly sure. And I think in their head, they must be doing the math. They need the damage. They actually probably absolutely need to get active here. The likelihood of them finding an easier battle later on, you know, further into the safe zone is probably not there, since the zone sort of landed on top of them in this general area.
Man, I can kind of see rightfully so. I feel like they just invested so much time and energy onto this side. They feel like it's a must. And it was immediately as they started shooting, Avari, Quick, Yuz, Sharkman playing for a little bit of piece control. That's when I was looking at it, but you said it just in time that they are doubling back. And now they're really kind of just putting it on the line here. They're not necessarily rotating out, but they're putting themselves in a position to, no matter who wins this actual fight, they're going to have to rotate into Moneymaker and F9.
See how it's going to end up playing out. Both sides, of course, already digging into their heels. Sharkman gets control of the Mending Machine here. Remember, this will allow them to get those med kits as well, but these are some important tags coming from the low ground team of Quick and Avari. F9 and Moneymaker are like, all right, we came back. They're still duking it out. Let's get out of here. They end up waiting just outside the storm line here. Regardless of who wins this one, they are surely going to be in for a treat.
Yeah, for a situation like this, both of these teams need some sort of mathematician by their side just to count up the numbers, how much damage they're taking, and find a way to do the quick maths, because honestly, this is looking like almost a no-win scenario with how many shots they're actually trading off, how many materials they're actually using, how much gold they're actually spending. So the longer and longer this one goes, it's not only that third-party team, because you see in the mini-map, Moneymaker for 9 still lurking around, but it's everything that you're using in this situation, all the resources that it's costing you, to where even if you do get both of the eliminations, not just one, it's still not going to put you in a good spot. It's almost, like I said, a no-win scenario forming right before our very eyes.
Yeah, I think Moneymaker for 9 are actually leaving out so that they can heal without giving away any audio sound effects or something like that, because there has to be a reason they're doubling back and forth as they try to find a clean entry in to lurk up on the team. Now they're coming in from the top down. Avari and Quick, though, look at this, down to their last med kit here, forced to start breaking their way through the builds. This is going to expose them to the outside. F9 and Moneymaker now have to see if they can actually download what's happening here. This extra bit of information is going to be super important for them. Otherwise, they'll be left holding the bag. Look, they actually don't even realize that Quick and Avari have now left the drop.
And they're watching the whole other side, instead of the same side that they kind of rotated on out. But you can see they found some loot on the outskirts of where they're actually at. They're able to get a couple extra med kits, minis, bigs. Not sure what the mobility is looking like overall, but they're at least in a spot where they do have the luxury to stay a little bit longer. On over towards Calamari Canyon, where we jump in very quickly to see Noxy go down. And it was no Nox. We know him and Dash have been eliminated out of this game.
Big eliminations for King and Craze. That puts them at 3 now. That's a plus 12 points. If you start with just that, they're inside the top 10 now, jumping up to where Josh and Yamzo would have started the game here. For Acorn, for Bolts, they're off to such a hot start at day 1. The cushion is growing. 318 points separate them from the rest, but I'm looking at that damage meter, looking like it's a bit light here. So options are going to be Oliver OG, but the problem is you have Yamzo in the distance, and remember, Peterbot and Boyo have that tower too, so a lot of potential third parties for Acorn and Bolts can be happening here.
You see what I see, right? But we're both looking at the same thing. And no, I'm not talking about Curve. He is great. We know what it is. Production even sees what I'm seeing. It's the return. The man, the myth, the legend. Higgs has been shoved away. It's the return of Batman Booga. And this is something big right here, because he has come so close under the name Batman Booga so many times, from NA West to Central. He has yet to capture that FNCS championship. And I feel like right now he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. Day 2, a new day for them. And why not bring a familiar name back to the mix?
Honestly, I would have loved to see him even go with Batman Higgs. Let's just merge the two, take the branding all the way. But Batman Booga, what a fun username. Definitely inspired by, obviously, the GOAT himself. So really cool to see Higgs having some fun here. And I think he's just trying to put all the good omens together, right? Put out all the good lucky charms that he can think of here, because he is very close to striking NAC championship title here today.
Yeah, at one point or another, sharing that first place spot. Along with Muzz and Rise here, I talked about it yesterday, coming together very, very late, especially compared to some of the other teams that they're around on the leaderboard. Had a not good day 1. They needed to clutch up big in day 2. They made it happen. They go through heats. It's a cakewalk for them. And then here in finals, they're playing so phenomenally well. I think Rise has flown so under the radar, you know, over the last couple of years, you know, maybe even questioning his dedication, his passion. I feel like, and I've always said it, with the right teammate, Rise will rise back on up. And I think Muzz is that right teammate.
Yeah, listen, Muzz has had this very consistent, successful career on NA. I feel like there's been moments where, again, he has excelled as an individual, and just pairing up along Rise, who's also had a very stable career. These are two super veterans paired up with one another, and if nothing else, I bet they just complement each other very well. Two very level-headed players, and their performance here is surely showing. in a world of so much new, crazy talent as well, right? Like the Curves, like the Batman Boogas that are, of course, rising up, especially in the last year. But look at this. Being below, 120 below. We'll have to catch up with what's happening over there. First, though, we touch base with Buzz and Rise, who finds Boji rotating through the storm, getting chased down by Cynic. So a nice free pickup for them. That's a 4-point swing going their way.
Yeah, that's definitely good because coming into today, it was 6 points difference between them and first place. Obviously, we got to figure out how many eliminations Ritual, Cold, Peterbot, and Poyo have gotten throughout all this, but they're definitely climbing up as the game continues to progress. Batman Booga's going to go down. Curve going against Cold and Ritual. Cold is just going to shut them both down back to back. Batman Booga here in game one along with Curve. They had the most distance traveled over the entire tournament so far, and Cold and Ritual immediately shut it down.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say it's just a really tough fight, right? Like, who wants to fight Cold when they're not below the surge, right? Like, Cold just gets to wait there, get the pre-fire off, and you saw him do it. While that was happening, by the way, F9 did find Sharkman with an elimination, so something has finally concluded for Moneymaker F9. You can see them down to the bottom right. Meanwhile, way up top, clearly, Boyo and Peterbot get first dibs on the rotate here. Using a shockwave, gets off that high ground. This is working out pretty perfectly for them right now.
Yeah, especially compared to some of the games we were seeing yesterday. They're 520 above, but Venno has gone down to Veer. Ager's literally on a sliver of HP, and it's active surge. He only has a couple of seconds. He can't take a single tick. Veer is buying time right now, and Ager's and Venno have gone down. So as it stands, Monster, 5th place, 6th place have both been eliminated.
Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in, but if you're everyone else who's, of course, racing for consistency, you're happy to see these spots start to loosen up, because what you don't want is for them to hold the grips on the leaderboard, right, and continue to gap away. This really does open up opportunity for other players. Meanwhile, Clicks and Rapid getting active here in the mid-game, finding themselves a nice little elimination. Well, a lot of notable names I'm still seeing alive here. Yamzo, Josh, King, Craze, Bolts, Acorn, a lot of teams situated pretty strongly now.
Yeah, I just got to see this update here for Acorn and Bolts, 263 above. You know, it wasn't too long ago in the same game, we saw them kind of below the damage threshold. But Acorn always peeking for those opportunities. And I think it was Kelly that said it throughout the day yesterday. Even though they're 4th place on the leaderboard, they were just unable to really make a lot of these games count as a duo. They really made them count as a solo, but we know what the difference in numbers makes, especially if you're a team like this that knows how to play for that high ground. You just can't do it alone most times.
Yeah, look at this. Somehow, Moneymaker and F9 are 120 above when they only got that singular elimination that we saw in the feed there. Just shows you the importance of also not taking damage in your journey. Meanwhile, Cold and Ritual, though, just doing big things here. It's really funny that in the highlights, you know, when Kelly did the breakdown for this team, she mentioned that they get these eliminations. They do not greed for the resources, though, but they also don't desperately find themselves needing it every single time. Even here and now, they are max material coming into this big moving zone.
Yeah, and I think it's something that Ritual just deserves a lot of credit on, you know, just being able to kind of go through trios, now back to duos, and be the IGL, and somebody they can kind of lean hard on, especially in these tough situations where you don't necessarily know at all times where you're going to get your surge, where they did go down, I think Vivid said 46th place to start the game, and they're still looking as strong as ever. You see Victor V and Queasy not straying away from their strategy. They tried it yesterday. They did it in heats, going for high ground majority of the time, but they're 88 below the damage threshold. There's a lot of opportunity up here for them to go ahead and strike down on anybody shockwaving on, but they have to be quick because it's active surge.
Yeah, this is super important for them right now. I also didn't see many heals, so they've already healed through the majority of the last couple of surge ticks, and now they're forced to jump on a team, and it's Peterbot and Boyo who are on the other side. Peterbot just hits a monster shot, so does Boyo, and they take down Victor V and Queasy on the line where placement points were being issued out. I almost wish they would have gotten active a little bit sooner, especially when you saw 7 players standing between you and the surge turning off. It's just a long ways, but look at this. This is looking like a win situation for Peterbot and Boyo. The only team that has arguably gone for height every game that they possibly could has now lost that resistance, or better yet, beat them on the high ground here.
Yeah, that high ground counter is definitely going to reach 10 minutes after this game, but Clicks and Rapid falling under the radar so far in this game. I think that's a blessing for them, not taking too much focus from everybody. We saw Rapid's first elimination kind of get them going. Now we're getting into the placement points, top 22. It's not much as of now, but we know teams will start to drop like flies. Those placement points will start to fly in as they rotate toward the front side of the zone. They're waiting for it to open up on the right side, which gives them a little less pressure to deal with.
Names I'm seeing here, Golden and Ozone on the backside of zone, Ritual, Cold here, 5 eliminations now, working the mid-ground lane. They're getting targeted, though, by a few different teams here. They will have to sort of soldier their way through all these old builds. Peterbot Boyo still maintaining control of the high ground. I'm seeing glimpses of Shadow and Virgo as well, still standing here, trying to make a comeback for themselves, but take a look at this. Cole dropping all of his material here for Ritual. Although he's going to try to stick this pickup, it's going to cost him a bit.
So they got to run.
He makes it. Ooh, barely, but they're in.
Beeline it there, just 10 HP for Cold, but surviving is surviving. Saw Muzz and Rise in the backside of zone, so it doesn't look like it's smooth sailing for Peterbot and Poyo just yet. Fanaya's gonna go down. Moneymaker still finds an Elim. He gets the Elim onto Acorn though, separating him and Bolts once again. But Moneymaker, it's your chance to make your name true, make that money, but he goes down. Peterbot and Poyo are gonna fall from grace as well, and it's Shadow and Virgo the ones that take it all.
Yeah, it looks like Muzz and Rise might have attempted it as well. You saw them falling there too. So a scrappy battle up top. Peterbot Boyo end up playing the price. Boyo now left by himself, but in the end, Shadow and Virgo will remain victorious with the high ground. Meanwhile, Cold still trying to pull off a solo clutch here for himself now. He's at 10 points earned this game already. Meanwhile, Virgo and Shadow holding things down on the high ground. Oliver OG, Belly Boss think they're gonna come up and contest the best here, but nope, it's Boyo who still wants to have a piece of this fight.
I saw him take so much damage. I'm like, what duo is next to go to the high ground? And it's Poyo by himself. And that's something that he loves to do. Go for the high ground as a solo and let everybody else down below deal with that mess. But as of now, it's Shadow and Virgo that are going to stand tall. Clicks and Rapid get a second elimination in this game and timed perfectly because they desperately needed those materials to continue looking strong here.
It's a very big game right now for Clicks and Rapid, almost a top 10, but Boyo still has to be taken out here. He's working his way through the low ground now, jumping down, just trying to stay out of the line of sight of the opponents. Doesn't even have time to pop his heals. If he could, he would, but he's more desperately trying to avoid the storm here.
Just weaving in and out of these builds.
Oh my gosh.
We watch, it's like the game is moving in slow motion for him, and now Poyo clicks one-on-one. Poyo goes down. That's Ozone who steals away that elimination. Now everybody is sending it up towards height. Shadow is gone. Virgo is down to a sliver of HP. Doesn't even make it back in. And out of nowhere, it's Dolzir and Ishu that are stealing away the momentum here.
And don't forget, Dozier and Ishu had a very, very tough day one, losing their off spawn. Finally, though, when they get let loose, they are running things up, but so are Iamzo in the low ground. But take a look at this. Just a little update. 8 eliminations for Josh and Iamzo here as they are cooking things up down low, and now they've actually secured just enough material to do something big here.
They were literally one placement outside of the Globo's bubble. You gotta imagine they're inside of it now and looking to head even further up that leaderboard. Our final 2v2. Dozier's gonna get shut down first. Iamzo and Josh win game number 1. 11 eliminations to start the day off hot.
A huge, huge moment for them right there to be battling from the low ground to turn things around and then secure the win when it matters most. And honestly, with how fired up they look there, Zeke, that was the way you execute.
MDF, I am shocked after that game result. I feel like there was so many different ways that game could have ended. For a while, I was like, oh, Peterbot Boyo, they're up on the high ground. But then Shadow Virgo push it, and I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. What's going on? And then Dozer and Ishu go, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then Josh and Iamzo from the low ground. 11 elimination victory royale on the hardest day of the competition to kick off game number 7. Kelly, oh my gosh, momentum is going brr.
Listen, I think we need to give a big thank you to Reet and Cooper for winning the Wonky Land off spawn first to 10, because I think that might be a key to the success of Josh and Iamzo right now. We've seen them have major success at Wonky Land, but what they're doing right now in the early and mid game, and Vivid, you broke it down perfectly, and then being able to convert that into these perfect end games, absolutely incredible. And I do have to feel like just because of how vertical that height was, there were so many layers and not too many people actually on that low ground except for Iamzo and Josh. So when these players had to kind of drop down, when they got a little scared, they were able to just clean it up so easily because they were the only ones there, and they were able to just pick up so much loot because of that.
You know, we were kind of watching the game. Obviously me, Zeke, and Kelly, and we were kind of talking about it, whatever, and Zeke was like, man, it kind of seems like everybody's like sleeping, you know what I mean? Everybody needs to like wake up a little bit here. I can tell you right now, Josh looks like he is very clearly awake because he was moving just absolutely phenomenally in that end game. But I also want to go ahead and mention, you gotta imagine, we constantly talk about the differences between day one and day two when it comes down to these types of competitions. Josh and Iamzo came into this weekend kind of expecting to go Wonky Land, and then of course they kind of like lost the rights to actually land there, and then they kind of came into it and they were like, oh, we're going to be contested by, you know, Seek and Taki over here at this split to the left of Clicks and Rapid, but now they're going to be uncontested. So now that they're kind of coming into day number two, you got to imagine last night they probably prepared around the fact that they are now uncon, and immediately that preparation, I would imagine, is starting to pay off with a game one victory royale.
Crazy stuff. I feel like I gotta go watch Faxity's reaction to that result. Man, a massive shock and a massive W for them. How does that impact the leaderboard? We'll find out after this short break. We'll see in just a moment.
I got here. I'm popping in med bit. Wait, short. Got 6 builds. No, max up. Wait, if you are mid, play. 100. 100. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Milk can help you grow. Milk can't prevent your ride from blasting into space.
Man, oh man. Game number 1 was as chaotic as I had hoped it to be. And if you missed it, Josh and Iamzo got themselves an 11 elimination victory royale in the first game of the day. We do have 5 more games to go. Nobody freak out. But as we turn attention to the leaderboard, this is a massive W for them. They have jumped up so many places, and now they find themselves in the top 5. That, Kelly, is why we say one game can really change everything.
I love to see it. Out of all of the teams that we had play in Major 1, there's only a handful that stuck together. And Josh and Iamzo is one of the only ones that didn't get a global championship qualification and still remain together. And you can see why that's so important, the synergy, the understanding. But I'm going to be a little bit honest. I like to write notes while I'm watching these games. And around Zone 2, I wrote Iamzo with great loot. And then that's the rest that I have. We weren't really able to watch them until the final moments because so much was going on in those end games. And obviously, I know a lot of people were looking to Peterbot and Poyo, who were able to take high ground really early. And then, of course, it came down to that solo from Polo. We thought we were going to maybe see another Summit Land performance, but it did go a little bit less like that. However, Vivid, you called it out during the break that Peterbot and Ritual are just 1 point away from each other still after that last game.
Yeah, incredible that we're kind of remaining very, very close towards the top of the leaderboard. And, kind of taking a look at that leaderboard when we were looking at it. Actually, I'll bring that up in just a moment as we do see Peterbot play. It looked like this is actually going to be a good game for them because they had the high ground. As you can see here, Peterbot just quickly caught off guard. And I won't lie, high ground got a little chaotic this game. I mean, we saw obviously Peter and Polio up there. Queasy and Victor V were kind of fighting them for it at one point. Shadow and Virgo went for it at one point. We saw Oliver OG sending it up there as well. So high ground was a little bit crazy. But talking about this leaderboard right now, obviously we came into the day, and I just want to talk about the top 5 kind of coming into the day and how they placed in game number 7 here, because it has opened up the door a lot. So Pete and Polio, that kind of came in today. They were first place. They got 9th that game. Ritual and Cold, they got 15th that game. Muzz, 16th. Acorn and Bolts, 17th. And then Higgs and Kurt, they got 36. So all of our teams that came into today in the top 5 on the leaderboard barely broke into the top 10 at all. I mean, Pete and Polio were the only ones who actually do that, and it was just on the back foot of Polio's solo clutch. And so the door has been open for all of our other teams to kind of catch up. And, we take a look at it here for Ritual and Cold. I'm not going to lie, I thought Cold was going to pick up 10 eliminations. That's what I was kind of calling for. You blink and you might have missed it. They just ended up being so shambles on the backside of the zone because Ritual was actually forced to go ahead for a res onto Cold at one point.
I mean, when you see Cold practically get a 1v2 onto Higgs and Curve, I can totally understand why you thought they were going to be walking away with a 10 elimination game there. But unfortunately, there's just only so much you can predict, especially with Ritual and Cold, who kind of like to box up a little bit and wait for everyone to rotate in front of them to get those eliminations. Eventually, if you're not kind of super focused, lasered in on all the players rotating in front of you, you're not going to pay attention behind you. And if you just get caught out by a really big team, they're just going to get those eliminations quickly. But it's Cold and Ritual. If anyone's going to be able to bounce back, and I don't know how much bouncing back they're going to do because of how high up they are, it's going to be this duo.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see that top 4 didn't shift at all, right? Peterbot, Poyo, Ritual, Cold, Buzz, and Rise in that last game. You did call out, Viv. They did find, they only made it to 16th place rather, but they did find 3 eliminations, so they are still trying to make up those points. Again, I'm trying, I want to be critical, right? Because this is day number 2. This is that moment where we are fighting for an Axe of Champions. We can't really make mistakes, but, Viv, I'm having trouble, especially because it's just the first game. There is always that feeler game that we just, need to come into, see how the lobby's kind of taken or adjustments they've made, and then, take it from there.
I mean, without a doubt, our top 4, we're taking a look at them. Acorn and Bold still kind of maintained to their 4th place as well. But that being said, Acorn and Bold, they're on 348. And you remember how I was kind of mentioning with all of our kind of top 5 teams doing a little bit poorly this game in comparison to how they were doing yesterday. Josh and Iamzo are kind of the best example to use here because Josh and Iamzo came into the day 19th place, around 220 points. They're now sitting on 327 points. So that game alone was around 100 points for them. And they were behind 100 plus points from Acorn and Bolts yesterday, but now they are only 21 points behind, sitting in 5th place. So yeah, these top 4 teams kind of sitting up there. They've got a little lead, but it has gone down tremendously after game number 7.
honestly, Zeke, I mean, this is just game number 1 of day number 2. We have 5 more games to go. And honestly, the fact that we had so many of our bigger teams kind of fall down early, I love that. I want everyone in the top 10 to just be so close. I don't want to know who's going to win, who's going to go to globals until the final game.
That was their plan. They're like, hey guys, just like let's everybody just chill out, just feel their game. That's actually not what happened. That's not what happened at all. We'll have to see though how things shake out. 5 games left to go. With that being said, it is that time once again. The game is ready for us. So casters, be you.
Yeah, so this one's going to be an interesting day as it does continue because 1 point is difference. And if you look at the stats, there's 1 elim better for Peterbot and Poyo over Cold and Ritual, but they have just a little bit more consistency. Both teams having trouble with Surge at certain points in the game. This one is probably one of the best FNCSs in a while.
Yeah, really tough to go ahead and crack the case that is Cold and Ritual. So consistent, lurking in the distance, and we don't really follow their early game story too much, so they come up out of nowhere. But sounds like Game 8 is ready. Let's do it.
You know, it's not only the gap for first place that I'm looking at as I go down the leaderboard. I try to count the teams that already have global spots secured, the ones who don't. Even that bubble for the global championship spot is just so close. Like Kelly said, I want to see this one go down to the very last game with everything on the line.
Yeah, the way this leaderboard is headed, it surely will do just that. But there was already a couple upsets from that last game, right? You have the Higgs and Curve dropping early. You have the Aegis and Veno falling prematurely as well. So a lot happening there. As we jump in with Dozier and Ishu, they seem to have just figured things out off the drop. A monstrous first game to kick things off, that second place giving them the momentum. And now that confidence comes surging in here as they drop their competition out the gate with no problems.
Like, I know we have big plans for the day, Brothers Moneymaker Infinite. We have big plans, right?
I like
and
it.
One thing I learned over my time on this earth, is in order to be the best, you have to beat the best. And Fanayan and Moneymaker right now are definitely ready for a handful, and it works! It works! Down goes Peterbot. Now Poyo is left by himself with Moneymaker and Fanayan looking for him.
This is crazy. They have managed to successfully take down the second place team as well earlier in the competition in day 1, and now they're targeting our number 1, Peterbot and Poyo. Poyo's by himself. We've already given Poyo so much credit as far as what he is capable of as an individual player, but even with all that star fighting power, is it going to be enough to hold back Fanayan and Moneymaker? Well, look at things from Peterbot's perspective. He gets hit with a major surprise.
There's literally nothing he could. As soon as he took the porta potty teleporter, he was just done. They coned him off. They boxed it. There was no builds able to be placed. Even if somehow Peterbot one shot tagged one of them down, it's still a 2v1. So Moneymaker Fanayan still affecting the lobby all around. And it's almost a must, right? Because you kind of close out the day yesterday, 49th place for the most part, 18th place to start the day with 2 eliminations. So they need something to get back on track. And taking down Pete, that could be just it.
What's crazy about it too is like they just slowly influence all the teams' overall tournaments, right? Like these little things that they're doing is really having ripple effects, I think, across the entire competition. And that's why you have it, even people like Muzz, Rise, Acorn, Bolts still having this creeper like way up the leaderboards right now. All in all, I mean, I'm impressed, right? I'm really genuinely impressed with what Moneymaker and Fanayan have done on this region.
Yeah, I blame Veno and Queasy. Remember the Invitational? They're the ones who started it all. Peterbot popularized it, and now I feel like everybody is incorporating it into the game plan. Rightfully so. I know it was only a 1-point difference, but if you're one of those teams that are a little bit further down the leaderboard, the only way to stop such a consistent team is maybe to take matters into your own hands. Is exactly what they're doing. Batman Booga and Curve, aka Higgs and Curve this time around, just lurking off their mountain a little bit towards that team down below, which was Paper and Zen. Again, just trying to get some early game surge. They have some of the most distance traveled on the map throughout the entirety of this tournament, so surge is a primary factor of their game plan.
I just want to say, whoever's editing, Moneymaker Fanayan's video for the post-tournament, they're going to have the best post-tournament recap out of any team out there. Win or lose, doesn't matter. They're going to have the best highlights for sure.
Okay, slow and steady for Clicks and Rapid over on this side. Uncontested for the most part outside of that left building. And which I think kind of puts a little bit of a speed bump in their path as we kind of take a quick look at King and Craze. Vert just gets lurked on. Literally, this is just lurk after lurk so far in this game. Just key way to get eliminations. But as I was saying, you know, Clicks and Rapid coming into the tournament, they practiced a lot with that cube, able to kind of bounce them far to get eliminations. With Josh and Iamzo landing there, they don't necessarily have that same comfortability to use that as a part of their strategy.
Yeah, they've almost foregone that as a part of the strat. And again, that's just because you don't want to really cross their paths, right? Or leave yourself exposed to them. Let's rotate. Acorn Bullets, though, facing a little bit of resistance from Curly and Jargu. They're also forced to disengage, give up the high ground position that they probably want to set up for. Muzz and Rise on the other side. Back to their trusty and true strat. They haven't really changed much, right? This team has almost consistently played these towers, and it's just worked out for them.
Yeah, you can kind of see double ARs. Typically, they kind of switch that for a pistol if they can later on in the game, or something that kind of shoots just a little bit quicker, just in case they get in those box-to-box scenarios. But this is what they're doing almost every single game, like you're saying. They're just accumulating as much surge as possible before they're forced to move out by the zone. But even then, they let all these other teams that are further back from them rotate first, and they use that as a way to just continue to get damage. As you jump on board, Pollo here for a moment, still wandering around as a solo. You got to imagine he has enough gold, but where the zone is going plays a huge role in if he's able to safely get the reboot back or not.
Yeah, definitely. As Webster has rotated into this drop, again, Boyo is still one of the deadliest, right? If he just catches this lurk play and it works successfully, he can very much confidently take down whatever's left of any duo. He's kind of lurking around here. You still see F9's name in the distance there. They're not looking to give away a free reboot to Peterbot by any means. You got to respect that tenacity, right? That consistency here from them. They've almost even taken their strategy. They're like, yeah, we're the kings of the drop. Let's go ahead and build our search tower here as well. I can respect that.
Continued action all around, though. Aoxy, Jojo Fishy trying to make up for that last game. You can kind of see the first drop is going to happen. Jojo Fishy's going to quickly get cleaned up. Not a lot of damage onto Veno and Aegis, so far, this being a true win, Surge included, especially now that they have Aoxy on the back foot. 2v1, Veno trying to spray from up above. Again, those Spire rifles, the amount of time you could just continuously spray is just very, so much a nuisance, especially for somebody that is a solo, as Veno and Aegis finally attack from both sides, but it's not going to work. Veno's going to get dropped first. Aoxy actually does get the cleanup before falling, so some damage to slow down the roll that Aegis and Veno have been on.
Yeah, look at that in the distance. You see Victor V and Queasy as well. I wonder what they're thinking as they're hearing these shots go off here as close as they were. But Boyo, Webster encrypted. We talked about that lurk play from Boyo here. He's setting up the 2v1s. He's saying, screw the lurk. I'm here to take this fight. He's doing it very much confidently. As this is happening, though, I'm looking at other teams kind of point their arrows in this direction. So there are other people interested in what might be happening here.
Yeah, outside of Pollo, you're right. 5 teams directly in Sinister Strip, a 6 on the outside. As CDZ and Nut come in this direction, they are lurking right behind, so they have no clue another team is this close. Literally just 1 box away, and Pollo's being persistent here. He knows, like, I need damage. I need a certain amount of loot, especially since I'm inside of the zone. If they see a solo trying to shockwave away, you know players will tend to chase after that for the eliminations here. But Webster Encrypted doing a good job of holding their ground here, not giving up any inches to Pollo, or at least not just yet, because that shot's certainly going to connect.
Yeah, I think what's more important is that they're slowly backing him down, and he's getting closer and closer to CDC and Nut, who are just outside. So Boyo's likely, I was going to say, probably going to disengage here soon. He's going to do enough damage, look to back out, or CDC and Nut are going to catch a glimpse of what's happening, and they're going to say, wait a second, he's by himself, and then capitalize on the elimination.
Yeah, you can kind of see Pollo realizing using so many materials here. He's going to disengage from the backside of Sinister Strip. Exactly what we were talking about. Spotted out as a solo. Wow. They put so much damage. A sliver of HP. That's all that's left. Nut and CDZ get slowed down for a short moment. The third party is coming to pour it in this direction, and they're still going to solidify the elimination nonetheless. But now they're the next target here at this south side of Sinister.
Well, Pollo and Peterbot fall in 40th place there. So Pollo's effort was amazing, but not good enough to push him through the impossible task, honestly, considering how many teams got to his drop there. Josh Niamzo on the other side playing much, much more safe here, very passively holding down this metal fortress. And that's going to leave Ritual and Cold here with an exceptional amount of runway to go now. And think about it, they've been so consistent, right? Basically matching bar for bar on average elims and placement points.
Now, this is their chance to not only take first, but hopefully start to build a little bit of a cushion. They still got to worry about Muzz, Rise, Acorn, and Bolts. Yamzo and Josh, who just won that last game. They flew up the leaderboard into 5th place overall from outside of that Globals bubble to inside for sure. And they have the same strategy, you know, as a lot of teams that do land at that spot, that kind of half sunken. They immediately rotate over towards this mending machine. It's where they're getting a lot of their metal. Obviously with the gold, that's how they're replenishing their loadout for the actual heals. So Josh and Yamzo just sticking to what isn't broken.
One thing to think about for Virgo and Shadow is that although they had a slow day 1, they are picking things up with a strong pace here in day number 2. That big 7th place that they managed to pull off has effectively put them in the bubble, knocking on the door for a qualification spot. Again, not that they necessarily need it, but again, if they get to push other teams out, things start to open up.
Yeah, more and more eliminations that they get. Even King and Craze here, if they're able to catch fire, they're inside of that bubble. They're going to create that roll down effect. But even with them creating that roll down effect, every elimination they get on somebody outside of the bubble, they're essentially, you know, hurting their chances. They're siphoning points away from teams that do need it. So again, even if they got their global championship spot secure, there's so much for them, not only to play for, but impact here in this lobby as we jump on board 2nd place. I say that with knowing like just one placement point, one elimination will bounce them right into first. 306 above the damage threshold. It's not necessarily a mountain of damage that they're going to be everybody else, but they're definitely setting their path forward.
I like how they do this as well. Ritual goes first. Cold kind of looks out to see, okay, is anyone going to take shots that use that team going to take this? And almost using it as bait to find tags on the way. And again, F9 and Moneymaker kind of take up Peterbot and Pollo's strategy too. I'm thinking that their prep is in obviously the lurk, but then, okay, if we take down the team we are lurking on, what do they normally do? As they just adopt the strategy. They almost become the team, basically. It's a very interesting way to play the game.
I mean, I would follow those same strategies too, especially if I got that elimination onto Peterbot. Especially with both of them going down, but I did see this in the feed. Acorn dropped, Void dropped. It was a trade 1-for-1, but with no eliminations, the revive is going to come back through. And so for Acorn and Bolts, they just got to reset here in this situation. But be careful because Veno and Ager's doing it again. This is literally the same strategy for the most part that Veno used to come back from a 100-point deficit to win Major 1.
Oh, what a tough spot to be in, though. Agers, as he opens up fire, Acorn edits the window and finds him there. And now they're looking to finish the deed here. This is a really big elimination. This is actually a potential pace-changing elim for them right now. Venom falls here, and now this is going to be 2 back-to-back games where they get taken out early.
And you kind of see him just toying with the idea, do I go for the revive? I got to try to heal up. Acorn and Bolts are staring me down, so Ager's not going to be rescued, at least not here and now. Veno needs a heroic effort before going down. Acorn and Bolts, this could be the game. We were talking about it. It happened again in that last game that they stay alive as a duo, but I might have just cursed them. Hobby and a Minish out of nowhere, probably hearing the noise. They want to join in on the fun.
Yeah, and someone else does as well. Look, there's a fresh team coming in pretty aggressively, as they need the extra damage here. Javi and Aminish are going to look to disengage instead. Not wanting to fight against the best here.
Rightfully so. Acorn and Bolts, just getting it down, literally going from one fight to another by getting those eliminations onto Veno and Agers. And since they already have the vending machine locked down, they're not necessarily too worried about the heals they're going to bring with them in the next stage in the game. They just have to be on their timing because it is a 2-tick. It is going into a 5-tick. As you jump on board, Queasy and Victor V, they're below the damage threshold. And Hobby and Administer underneath that bridge, also below that damage threshold.
I love that we get this updated kind of Queasy and Victor V fight too, because we have seen them have trouble game after game. Even if they make it to the end game, they have been so desperately below the damage threshold. But look at Victor Cook here as he drops a Minish. Again, this is another team that absolutely needed those eliminations and those points there. So Victor V gets rewarded, and it just couldn't have gone better for them right here. And they get to pick up